And the Cavs are back in the win column after taking down the Indiana Pacers in Indiana tonight on national television. Mikey McNuggets coming at you guys. Jason Lloyd should be joining us here in a few minutes. I also have a special guest who is going to be filling in for Jason until Jason's ready to hop on. He's taking care of some work with The Athletic right now, so I understand his priorities, but let's dive into what we saw tonight in the Cavaliers win over the Pacers. First and foremost, Donovan freaking Mitchell, 19 points in the first quarter, 27 points in the first half. He finished the game with a game-high 35 points, and in that first quarter particularly, that was the Donovan that the Cavs have been looking for in their previous 4 games. Over the last 4 games before tonight, he was averaging just 16 points a game. Like we mentioned, he scored 19 in the first quarter by himself and was making shots that were not particularly easy. The man was falling over himself, making layups. He got a dunk, which we haven't seen a ton of from Donovan this year. His step-back 3 was on, and just like that, Donovan had amped up the aggressiveness. And when Donovan does that early, it opens up a lot of things for the Dariuses, the Evans, the Jarretts, the Max, the Karrases later in the game because the defense is so hyper-focused on stopping number 45. So first and foremost, the big takeaway was, welcome back, Donovan, and there's not a better time to get Donovan back in his rhythm than before Thursday night's game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which we'll talk about that game and preview that in a little bit coming up here in a few minutes after we get done kind of dissecting what we saw tonight from Cleveland. And I'm going to bring in my Jason Lloyd replacement. Well, let me tell you guys before I bring this guest in, I hit him up. It is 9:35 right now. We were texting throughout the game, and I hit him up at 9:29 and said, hey, Jason's on the phone right now. It may not be ready to start the show. You want to hop on until he's ready. It may be 2 minutes. It may be 5 minutes. It may be 15. Hell, Jason may not show up. You want to come on? And he said within 60 seconds, I got you, Mike. And with that, I am thrilled to welcome Luca from RealCavsFansForum.com. Luca, how you doing, man?
Good. I appreciate you. I feel like one of those third-string hockey goalies where the first one gets injured, the second one's out, and then the third one you're pulling somebody off the street. So here I am ready to go.
If you're a third-string hockey goalie, you're the most overqualified third-string hockey goalie in the history of third-string hockey goalies. Luca, it says UCSS panelist and at Oakley Sports under your name. That is obviously not where people can find you. Before we dive into stuff, where can people find you online if they want to see some of your Cavs takes, which they should be following you already, but if they're not, tell them where to find you real quick.
Pretty simple, at Real Cavs Fans on Twitter and at RealCavsFans.com. We welcome interaction either way, certainly more lively on the forums, but welcome your Twitter interaction, or I should say X interaction as well.
It's not X. It's always Twitter. It will always be Twitter. But Luca, let's start with Donovan Mitchell. 35 points today, snapping out of that shooting slump he's been in. 19 points in the first quarter, 27 in the first half. And I thought the aggressiveness he showed early on eventually opened up a lot of things for everybody else. And if Donovan was going to pick a time to pick it up, doing it in the game before they refaced the Oklahoma City Thunder and Lou Dort, who has given him struggles throughout his career, was the perfect time to see 45 get going.
I think if he must be watching your breakdowns, because between the Evan Mobley stuff, the other game where you focus on him and his performances, and he kind of showed out here, I know you got something coming on Donovan Mitchell. So I don't know if he's got the inside scoop with you guys, but certainly been more aggressive. And, I think they kind of talked about it on the broadcast, 16 points per game over the last 4 games, comes out with over 16 in the first quarter. So we've kind of seen him throughout the season. We kind of be a little bit more feeling out in the first quarter, letting Darius get going, letting Evan get going. But I think you kind of feel tonight was a night where he needed to get going, not only just to get his rhythm, but we saw Ben Shepherd start on Darius Garland again tonight, which I think kind of threw off the rhythm. We kind of saw him do some different stuff in the second half we can kind of get into. But I think knowing all that, he kind of sensed tonight was the night to really get going, and he delivered.
Well, we'll talk about Darius in a sec, but I want to mention something else from the other side of the ball from the Cavs. Their zone defense, Luca, has become a weapon. And for the most part, I think zone, just like pressing in the NBA, is kind of fluky. It's a nice little change of pace, a curveball for a possession or two. But holy crap, has Kenny Atkinson gone back to that zone, that 2-3 principle, whether Max Strus installed it. I know Eric Spoelstra is the king of the 2-3. However, they've come to whatever this zone that they have kind of developed here in Cleveland. I go back to the Charlotte game that I forget who they played a couple weeks ago, but they went to. Oh, it was against Oklahoma City when they beat them last week in the fourth quarter. Tonight, I mean, they were forcing Indiana to take shots that A, the Pacers did not want to take, and B, exactly what the Cavs were willing to give up. And for a team that didn't really play much zone at all in the JB Bickerstaff era, to kind of pick up on it this quickly and be this efficient and effective with it, it's not going away anytime soon. And it's a hell of a weapon at Kenny to have in his back pocket to deploy when he needs to stop here and there.
Typically in the NBA, you'll see some of those zones out of set plays or out of timeouts not deployed consistently throughout the first and second halves. But we really saw it in the first half. He kind of went with it for a 3-minute stretch where they really didn't score a bucket for those 3 minutes. They went in zone, kind of switching things up. Same thing in the second half. You heard him talk about it. Rick Carlisle had a little a smirk when they asked him about it, one of the inner timeout interviews. But I think one of the biggest things that we saw, we kind of mentioned on Twitter when we were talking about the game, the difference you see in Indiana dealing with the zone is what makes these Cavalier bigs so effective. When they had to put Bryant, Turner, Siakam at the high post, they really weren't comfortable in that zone, kind of trying to figure out, okay, I get the ball in the high post. Do I shoot? Do I drive? Do I kick out? What you've seen the Cavs bigs do so well is be able to pass out of that as a short roll and be really effective on those kickouts. So seeing how uncomfortable those bigs were with the Pacers is really changing for the Cavs, but it also should make you feel really good about what the Cavs have and both Mobley and Allen being effective in that short roll or high post area where they can distribute from there. And what makes that zone so beatable when the Cavs go up against it is having those guys that can kick out quick to the corners, or you have guys cutting as well. So really big game changer that Kenny went with. And that shows you the value of coaching. Those little adjustments can mean so much in the scheme of the game that it can swing a game like it did.
It's a couple games now. That Hornets game way back, I mean, if you remember, they couldn't slow down LaMelo Ball in that offense. They went to the zone, and I believe they held the Hornets to 11 points in the fourth quarter. They held the Thunder to 20 points in the fourth quarter. Ty Jerome generated a couple of turnovers that led to easy runouts for the Cavs in that game. And tonight, it's crazy because, Luka, back when I played for an old school coach. He coached in the 90s, 1999 coach of the year at Ohio State. Like when we played zone, your number one principle was do not let the entry pass get to the high post. Like that foul line area was a no-no. If you let that pass go through, you were getting taken out of the game immediately. In this iteration of the Cavs zone, they're inviting that pass. It's almost completely changed the principle because of the way that offenses play in the NBA today. They're fine with you getting it into the high post because, A, that's a difficult shot for a big guy just because it's so uncommon in today's day and age, and B, it's a long two. And if you're a defense, you can live all day, all night, 365 days a year with the opponent taking long twos. Now, some of the basic zone principles have changed in just the last 4, 5, 6 years. And the fact that the Cavs have the size up front in Jarrett or Evan, and then you add the two when they're together plus a Dean Wade, it's just really difficult to kind of dissect. In Indiana, who doesn't shoot a ton of threes, I just thought looked befuddled. And their best option against it was TJ McConnell. And when TJ McConnell's the guy you're most worried about in a 2-3 zone, I think you've pressed the right button, Kenny. Kudos to you for deploying that tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of talked about it, but that high post invites those long mid-range twos, and Kenny's whole profile, both offensively and defensively, is following the analytics. What do the analytics tell you on offensively? You want shots to the rim, you want shots behind the arc. What do they tell you defensively? Same thing. You want to limit shots to the rim, shots to the arc, invite those mid-range shots. So that's what you see. So yes, it may be something that you weren't taught, but invites those shots that they really don't want to take. And to your point about 3-point shooting as well, typically you go zone when teams can't shoot the perimeter ball really, really well. Coming into the game, Indiana was 27th in shooting three. So that plays right into who Indiana isn't and challenge them to beat them in a way that they really haven't beat teams all year.
Let's talk about Darius Garland for a second. He had that, I don't want to call it an injury because he only missed about 5 minutes of time, but he seemed to be bothered and hampered a little bit by some sort of knee issue, we'll call it, that he suffered sometime in the second, third quarter. Came back, made a couple of really nice plays in the fourth quarter. He had a little floater at one point in the game. He drove left. Ben Shepherd ended up hitting him, and it became an and one. But the level of difficulty on that shot and the touch you have to put it that high off the glass and have it fall through is just incredible. And we talked about one of the passes on Twitter earlier, Luka. The pure sorcery to drive baseline and end up wrapping a pass around two defenders, not to the wing, not to the corner, but to the wing. I thought he played another solid game tonight. And hopefully whatever was bothering him with the knee is not anything that's going to be bothersome or worrisome long-term, because the Cavs, they are 35-5 now. They could afford to miss Darius for a few games, but they need Darius for this machine to run as efficiently as it has. But I thought he once again played pretty well, and in the second half handled Indiana's pressure much, much better than they did in the first half.
Seeing him go down and start hobbling kind of brings up old wounds with all the different injuries he had in the past. And every single time you see him get hit in the face or slapped in the hand, he goes and grabs it. It's like, what next? Not now, not this season. Everything's going well. Please no. But, he certainly responded. Wasn't sure if we'd see him in that second half. He saw him on the sideline being tended to by Steve Spiro, the trainer, in a little bit of pain. So we'll see if we get any updates on that post game. But certainly thought one of the differences in the second half was kind of curious why Carlisle went away from this. But in that fourth quarter where Garland really seemed to take over some of those clutch minutes, get them some consistent opportunities at the rim, get some kickouts, get some of those floater going, you really didn't see Ben Sheppard on him. But through those first two quarters, I think Sheppard did a really, really good job on him. We kind of talked about it as well. I think similar to how Dean Wade, he has that combination of lateral agility, sneaky strength, and length that really bothers a lot of guys. You don't see a lot of that combination. I think Ben Sheppard was that, but to Garland, where he has that lateral agility to stay with Garland in his in and out moves. He has that length where he can challenge Garland. He's also decently strong where Garland's not going to be able to go through him at all. So I think that combination really frustrated Garland a little bit, especially with some of that full court pressure they were deploying. And through the last two quarters of the game, I think we were talking about it too, Haliburton going out was almost a blessing in disguise for them because they probably don't employ that type of defense they did with Sheppard as they did with Haliburton. So over the last two quarters of the last game and first two quarters of this game, I think Garland was trying to feel out, okay, how do I deal with this? But we really saw Garland get going in that second half, especially the fourth quarter when Carlisle went away from Sheppard on Garland. But I think one of the things we see with Garland that he's starting to develop too is, okay, if I have a guy on me, how do I still be effective? We see him make some of those passes. We see him be okay being off the ball and still doing what he can to be a decoy, doing movement, or just finding the right player at the right time. So even if he's not directly handling the ball, I think he's still having an impact that speaks to his growth and development.
Luka, if there was a voting for six-man media member of the year, you would 100% have my vote for this last-minute fill-in spot. Jason Lloyd is ready in the wing. So, Luka, one more time, tell the people where they can find you on Twitter and how to check out your stuff at Real Cavs Forum. Or Real Cavs Fan.
They can find us on X at Real Cavs Fan, as well as realcavsfans.com. It's always a pleasure. If you ever need an emergency goalie again, let me know.
Awesome. That is Luka. Make sure you check him out on Twitter. Does a great job covering the Cavs and has some terrific insight and statistics. He wrote a great article on Caris LeVert and his future contract, where you can expect that to land. So make sure you guys check that out. Luka, I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend. And with that, there he is. It's the man, the myth, the legend. Talk about a trade. Shout out to Luka. Seriously, if you guys don't already follow him on Twitter, highly recommend checking him out. Real Cavs Forum is a must for me on a daily basis and would recommend it for you as well. Jason, Cavs win. I know you've been dealing with some stuff on the back end, but an impressive bounce back performance from the Cavs, who had just lost this Indiana team a few days ago.
Yeah, this is a big week for them. I don't know. I don't want to repeat everything. I don't know if you guys have talked about it already, but this is kind of a big week to get Indiana tonight, and then obviously the big rematch with OKC, and then Minnesota's not going to be a pushover either. So, listen, no one's going to panic over one loss, obviously, in the NBA. We talked about on the show at length that, hey, listen, Sunday they turn the ball over and they miss shots. Like, welcome to the NBA. That happens 15 nights a night for the really good teams. But to see them come out the way they did, to see Donovan play and sort of exert himself after a couple – non-Donovan-like games, to come out and play well and to get a win on the road, has everyone, I'm sure, feeling good going back to OKC now.
Yeah, it was a good one. We'll talk about OKC in one sec. The one thing we hadn't got to with Luka about tonight's game was the Mathurin triple tech at the end. And it wasn't necessarily chippy, but we talked about after the OKC game last week, like, could that be a rivalry? And everyone kind of pushed it off. I don't think there's bad blood necessarily between the Cavs and the Pacers, but I can see them, if they match up in a playoff series, this kind of becoming a prolonged, maybe not knock them out, dreadlock, like I hate you kind of rivalry, but these are two young teams that played pretty damn physical, and especially Indiana early. They were bringing the physicality to Cleveland, and Cleveland in the second half kind of pushed back a little more. But I can see these two teams, the styles they play, their ability to kind of mix stuff up, whether it's Indiana's full court press, the Cavs zone defense, which was awesome tonight. I just get the sense that this is the last time we're talking about some really intense Cavs Pacers games like we've seen the last two.
Here's a hot take I just made up. You can't have a rivalry until your second postseason meeting within 3 years. I just made that up.
No, I think that's fair. I'm not saying this is a rivalry yet. I'm just saying this has the makings of what could be a rivalry down the road.
I'm totally going to derail it now. Like Orlando, if Cavs play Orlando this year, it's going to be a little chippy, given how last year went and the whole Jared Allen thing with the Wagners and all that. Like, you see him again. It's hard to have a rivalry. Like if the Cavs and Pacers meet in the postseason this year, I don't know if 7 games or 1 series is enough. You're going to kind of get sick of each other, but I don't know if it's really a rivalry. But if you see each other a second time, it might even have to be 2 in 2 years. Man, I'll go 2 in 3 years. Yeah. Then you can have a rivalry.
Last thought on tonight's game, then we'll talk a little bit about the OKC preview on Thursday. But Jason, early on, Donovan, uber aggressive. We talked about the 19 points in the first quarter, 27 in the first half, which tied a career high in the first half for Donovan, and how that opens up stuff later for other guys. And in the third quarter, when the Cavs really separated. And by the way, before I make this point, kudos to the Cavs for playing their best third quarter in a while. We talked about it after the first Indiana loss. They played poorly in the third quarter. Their defensive rating, not good in the third quarter. Kenny said, maybe I got to make better halftime speeches. Well, whatever he said tonight certainly hit home because they played an excellent third quarter. And in that third quarter, the catalyst offensively wasn't Donovan. It was Evan Mobley, who hit 3 threes in the third quarter alone. And he bodied Siakam on a play that there are just little tidbits here and there throughout a game where it looks like 2 points in the box score. And if you don't watch the game, 2 points is 2 points. But Mobley does something that we knew he wasn't doing last year. And those are the tangible signs of growth from Evan that I love to see. And the way he took over in that third quarter, I thought was really damn impressive off the heels of what Donovan did in the first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything new we can say about Evan Mobley we haven't said already, just in terms of his growth and how well he's played. And I said before, I think they're getting 4 All-Stars. I think they're getting all 4. I think the record warrants it, unless they totally unravel here in the last week or two. And by totally unravel, I mean like lose 3 in a row. But if they keep it this pace, if you're flirting with 50 wins at the All-Star break, you need 4 All-Stars. I think all 4 of them should go.
All right, let's talk about the game against OKC coming up here on Thursday. We'll preview it more in depth on Thursday when the Cavs head to Oklahoma City. I got a nice little breakdown we're going to play.
When are you playing that?
I think I may put it out on social media tomorrow on the show on Thursday, I think. But I'm not 100% sure on the plan. But I got a little Donovan Mitchell versus OKC thing I want to talk about. But that kind of leads me to the first point here, Jason. This was a rematch. Cavs lost the first game, came back, beat Indiana the second time. Obviously not back-to-back games like this situation, but the Cavs got OKC the first time. Since then, OKC beat the brakes off the Knicks. They beat the Wizards by 40 points. And at last check, the game may be over. They're up 25 points on the Sixers.
I think it's over. I was looking for that earlier.
So they've blown the doors off the last 3 teams they've played. They're coming home where OKC has been terrific historically in this season. No exception. Who do you kind of give the advantage to in a rematch, especially when the team that's going to be home in the second leg is the team that came up short in the first game?
Yeah, I give the advantage to OKC. I just looked. They won by 16 tonight over Philly.
16.
So they're still rolling. OKC being at home, losing the first game, I give them a little bit of an edge. I don't know if there's a line out what the line is. I expect them to be favored, maybe 2.5, 3, maybe.
I'll look it up. Hold on.
But certainly, the Cavs played incredibly well at home the other night. But that you'd think that there's even another level to what they did because of Donovan's struggles in that game. And Mike sent me the breakdown earlier, and he did a terrific job of showing how Donovan has struggled against Dort. And, certainly that's something else to take into account on Thursday is if Donovan can handle the way that the Thunder have guarded him in that first game and the way that you pointed out, where he's going against literally 4 defenders. And sometimes he's got to try and do a better job of finding the open guy in the corner or finding the open guy on the wing or wherever it is. So I would give OKC the edge. It wouldn't shock me to see the Thunder win that game on Thursday. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be another great game.
When you have 2 of the best teams in basketball and one's at home, I just think naturally they have the advantage, especially when the first game was at the other team's arena, which it was in Cleveland, going back to that Oklahoma City crowd. Just like we had hyped up the game last Wednesday when it was here and made it the biggest deal in the world, and you could feel the buzz in the city. I can guarantee you in Oklahoma, this next 2 days is going to be the same kind of atmosphere and buzz going to the contest with the Cavaliers. Once again, would not surprise me in the least bit, not not even remotely if the Cavs were to pull off this win. It's the second best home record in the league against the NBA's best road record. So the Cavs have done a terrific job on the road this season. To your Lou Dort point, and I want you guys to all watch the video, so I don't want to give away the whole thing. But Donovan in his career, and this is before tonight, so he shot over 50%. So I'm going to round up. Donovan's a 45% shooter from the floor in his career, and against Lou Dort, he's a 29% shooter. Whatever reason, Lou Dort does a better job guarding Donovan Mitchell than anyone in basketball. And it's not just him. OKC likes to run a lot of guys at him. It's how they play defense. And that could actually play into Cleveland's advantage if Donovan takes advantage of some of the things I think OKC leaves open by forcing the ball out of his hands. But another matchup I want to talk about, Jason, is in that first meeting, the Cavs killed OKC with their big-to-big passing. Yeah. That was the game where both Evan and Jarrett had 6+ assists. First time since 1998 where David Robinson, since 98, the last time it happened was David Robinson and Tim Duncan, that two front court players both had 20, 10, and 6 or more assists in the same game. So a historical performance. The Thunder don't have Chet Holmgren back.
I thought they would by now. I thought he'd be back for this game.
I have not seen
No. I mean, as of like when we were talking about
a
week or two ago, I thought he'd be back.
Got you. Yeah, so I have not seen anything that indicates he's going to play. But, Jason, they'd lack the size. So it's going to have to be something schematically and how OKC tries to defend this. And I was just trying to think to myself, if I was OKC, how would I try to defend these two twin towers that have become such good passers? And I don't have a great answer. So I'm curious if you have an answer as to how OKC is going to handle this Evan Jarrett combo down low.
Hartenstein's got to play 48 minutes. You just call timeouts to give him a break. I mean, honestly, no, it's, until they get Chet back, it's a great little cheat code for the Cavs against a lot of teams. Like, let's be honest, there's not many teams that have an answer for how the Cavs can use Evan and Jarrett when it's rolling, when it's going good. Certainly there's times where teams could scheme one or both of them off the floor as well. But for the way that the Cavs, the beauty of both bigs is how adept they are at passing and handling the ball, and how skilled they are for big men. It's when you start talking about inverted pick and rolls or big to bigs, that puts a lot of teams in a bind, man. There is no great way to spin it. And we can talk about the length of OKC. There's a difference in length and height, and length is great when you're guarding on the perimeter, but you kind of need height when you're going after rebounds. And that's where Evan and Jarrett can really hurt those guys.
I'm going to eventually do a breakdown on the big to big passing and how the Cavs have turned Jarrett Allen into a floor spacer, even though he doesn't shoot threes. It's one of the best coaching adjustments.
I'd be to watch that. I'd be curious to watch that.
I got to dive into some more stuff before I feel confident in my opinion on this, but I'll say this for now. The way they move those two guys and use them as off-ball screeners just to create the motion to get the defense moving emulates the same spacing that a three-point threat in the corner would do. And the fact that both Allen and Mobley have become as adept at passing from the short roll as they have, and I'll explain this in the breakdown whenever I get to it, but essentially when you get the pass from a pick and roll, if you want to trap the pick and roll, the first pass and the right pass you're going to make as the ball handler is get it to the big. The big turns around, and this is like being a quarterback. In a split second, the big has to read, okay, where's the defender stepping up? So do I have a shot?
Yeah.
Where are my teammates? It's usually corner, and wing. And where's their help defense? And you have to make the right decision on, do I attack? Do I catch and shoot? Do I swing? Do I pass? Do I dribble, draw, kick? That all happens in literally less than a second. Like, you're reading 4 or 5 things at once. And that's why Draymond was so good at it, because he was like a point guard, but he was 6'7", 6'8", passer. Evan and Jarrett aren't on that level yet. I'm not putting them in that. They're not. They're not Jokic. They're not there at that elite level, but they're both above average now. And above average at that situation with the shooting the Cavs have is damn near impossible to guard. And when you're in a defensive situation and you're trying to figure out, what do I stop? What kind of pick my poison am I willing to live with? OKC in the first matchup picked, all right, let's make these guys make the right passes. They did it the right time 97% of the time in the first matchup. So I'm curious now, Mark Dagnall, who's a terrific coach, and OKC, who is a terrific defense, what their adjustment is, because I don't think they're going to sit back and let those two try and pick them apart again. My gut tells me, Jason, they're going to now blitz the short roll, which means you dump it off to, let's just say Jarrett in this instance. Whoever the low man is, all right, you're coming up and closing that space. We'll deal with 3-on-2 on the back end. You stay in the corner so there's not the easy kick, and it's 1-on-2 on the weak side. And if Jarrett wants to try and attack us off the dribble, so be it, or Evans, so be it. But at the same time, I kind of like Evans' chances going up against an undersized forward or the big wings that OKC has, because we saw it at the end of that game. He went 1-on-1 against Hartenstein and scored.
Yeah.
Back in the day before he was comfortable doing that, I felt a lot better about trying to make him go. If I'm a defense, I'd feel a lot better about putting him in that situation. But now he's really good at it. So it's so difficult to guard. And that's why some of these Cavs offensive numbers are just silly this year, Jason.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I'd be curious to watch that breakdown. I love watching Evan attack bigs now, where in the past maybe he would stop short, fade away, pull back, short bunny jumper. And this year he's taking some vitamins and he's going right at guys and right at the rim. It's fun to see.
We got 4 minutes left, Jason, so I want to have some fun to wrap this up. You ready?
Yep.
I have a tweet that I tweeted. It's maybe the most proud I've ever been of a tweet. So if you haven't
said that before about your tweets.
No,
so.
But this one, someone else even told me it was a masterpiece. So I want to read you this tweet, Jason. I want your immediate reaction to this tweet.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready.
TJ McConnell is the Michael Jordan of Matthew Dellavedovas.
Are short, scrappy white guys, white guards?
He's just in the right spot at the right time. He's better than Delly was. I know people might get mad. TJ's awesome.
Yeah, TJ's better. Yeah.
He's awesome. Delly was terrific, but he's like the peak. I don't think you could get better of undersized, punchable face, full court press defense, great against the zone, is a little more athletic than you give him credit for, but not actually that athletic in terms of NBA standards. I think he is the peak Matthew Dellavedova. Like, he's the final evolution of Matthew Dellavedova.
I know Sam Merrill's your all-time favorite wannabe. If you could play in the NBA, you would be Sam Merrill. Does Sam fit in this conversation or not really?
No, wait, he's way too flashy. Way too flashy. Sam shoots threes when asked to shoot threes. To be in this conversation, you have to be, is that a good shot? I don't know. Okay, it went in. Okay, good. Like, you have to have some sort of doubt when he puts it up, whether it's going to be a good shot. And God forbid Sam Merrill tried to pick guys up full court. I don't think that would end particularly
that would not end well.
Different. Like, Aaron Kraft is in that conversation. Remember the Ohio State?
Oh, yeah.
He's in that level, but he's not the Michael Jordan of that group. Like,
he's the John Bagley of that group. You probably don't remember. You probably don't even know who John Bagley is, do you?
John Bagley. No, I don't know who that is.
Hawks guard. Played here, actually, I think. Maybe. Did he play here? I don't remember. He definitely played.
And then last thing, I want to set a little teaser for tomorrow's UCSS because we got a big audience tonight, Jason. These post-game shows do great. I'm actually going to do, and Jason, if you want to, hop on, but I'm going to do a post-game show for the Thunder game on Thursday as well. So if you're around, feel free to hop on, but you have fulfilled your Ultimate Cavs obligation for the week, so you are good to not. But I will do a post-game show. But tomorrow on UCSS, I want to tease this for you guys.
Yeah.
We are playing a brand new game. It is called Name That Dude. And I'm telling you guys this because everyone watching is going to be able to participate, and you're going to have a chance to beat Jason, Bull, Jay, and G tomorrow. I picked 30 guys since the year 2000. We may not get through all 30 for time, but I have 30 guys from the year 2000 and on. So 2000 to current day. Cleveland athletes. I'm just going to show you a picture, and we're going to raise hands. Anthony's going to be the Jeopardy judge to determine who got their hand up first, and you're going to have a chance to answer if you can name that dude. These are Cavs, these are Browns, and these are Guardians from the year 2000 and on.
I'm going to be up studying all night, studying mugshots all night.
They're in uniform pictures, just a heads up. So there's not like just a headshot, but this is in uniform.
In uniform.
So that is the game we're going to end tomorrow's show with. I think Bull's going to do good in baseball, terrible in the other two. I think G will do good in football. Basketball, I think he'll do all right. Baseball, he's going to be completely lost in the sauce. You and Jay, Jason, you and Jay are my two preseason picks to do well in this game. I'm also going to put a bold prediction out right now in the final 30 seconds of the show. A fan's going to beat y'all. One of these fans is going to end up beating.
You know what I'm most nervous about is random Browns quarterbacks. That's what I'm most worried about. There was so many of these idiots running around. I shouldn't call them idiots. That was mean. There were so many of these guys running around out there. That's what I'm most worried about is random Browns Spurgeon win mugshots. I know it. I knew it.
We'll find out tomorrow. Spurgeon win makes the cut. I want to say thank you to Luca for joining before Jason was ready. Check him out at Real Cavs Fans. I am dead serious. Great website, great resource for all Cavs fans. Would highly, highly recommend you guys giving that a follow. Jason, this was fun as always. Always fun to talk about a Cavaliers win. The 35-5 Cavs. One more game to the midway point of the season, Jason. I don't think any of us thought they could possibly have 36 wins midway through the year. We'll see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I promise you it's going to be a banger of a show. You don't know it yet, but your world's going to be rocked in the morning. See you then. Peace.